is not going to be very long, because we're just going to be getting started with the second semester. I kind of want to talk to you about our unit that we'll be getting a hold of. I want to talk about your books that you read over the break and how we're going to deal with those, and have our conferences. And there's some stuff going on politically right now that is pretty disturbing, if you've been watching the news or your Twitter feed or whatever. So I don't want to take a super long time today. And I don't think your assignment is especially hefty this week either. We can ease into 2021, right? We can sort of like gradually tiptoe into 2021 and see how the waters are. So let me go through the instructions here. I hope that you all had a restful break and maybe spend time with your family, find a new hobby. I don't know, something like that. All right, so there are some ongoing tech issues that you may know about or you may not know about. They're lingering from the week before Christmas. You know that we had a breach, and they are attempting to fix that, but it's not complete yet. You probably noticed that the portal isn't working. Well, the gradebook isn't working for us, and it hasn't been since the Sunday before we went out on Christmas break when they had the breach. We haven't been able to get into the gradebook at all, so there aren't first semester grades yet. They told us on Monday that it was going to be, the system was going to be up by 1 o'clock, and here we are, we still don't have it. So I think they should stop promising at this point, if you ask me. So grades were originally due on Monday. They extended it to tomorrow, but I think they're going to have to extend it again because it's not just a matter of putting in grades. It's a matter of looking at the averages, making sure everything's correct, you know, as we're closing out for the semester. So that usually takes a bit of time, you know. So that's happening. Another tech issue is the internet on campus is still not enabled. So if you're on hybrid, you can go to campus, but you won't be able to get on the internet, and they're not letting the staff use hotspots on campus. So I don't know why. But so if you do go to campus, it's just pretty much to be supervised. And I think most of my students' parents don't feel that they need to be supervised every single day. But they're hoping to get that fixed for next week. And so for that reason, they're keeping the first semester schedules this week until Friday. And then on Monday, hopefully, if everything's working, they'll start the new second semester schedules. Students were asking me, how do we get our schedules? And so I asked the principal, and he told me, well, when everything's working again, all your new classes will show up in Google Classroom. So if you have a semester course and you're switching to something else, that's how you'll know. I'm assuming that the teachers will get a hold of you through that Google Classroom with their Zoom links and stuff like that. But, you know, we're just gonna play it by ear and do the best we can and roll with the punches. And every other cliche that I can think of at the moment. But yeah, if you have year-long courses, then don't worry about it. You know, you'll just keep working with your same instructors. But there are some people that switch, like speech classes and health and stuff like that, switch around. So if you're in that boat, you're not switching until Monday. And we were directed to take attendance based on our first semester students. So second semester, I already kind of talked about that in general, but are there any other questions about tech issues or schedules or anything I don't have on the updates that you're wondering about? If I don't know, I can try to find out.
Okay, so we get our schedules next week, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a schedule. I think what's going to happen is, yeah, so what the principal told me is, you know, they're like, oh, we're going to have everything online. I'm like, yeah, but how are the students going to know where to go to A? How are you going to tell them? Yeah.
I don't have a 1A or 2A class.
Right.
Or 2A because I have a college course, but 1A, my teacher retired, so the Google Classroom isn't there anymore.
Right. So what's going to happen is as soon as they reconcile whatever issues are still lingering in the network, They're going to power it up 100%, and it should populate in your Google, like on that page where you have all of your classes, this one, you should, when it's ready, you should see the new ones pop in there. That's where that's how you'll know. So all the ones that are lingering from last semester are old, and usually teachers migrate to the new one second semester, even if it's a year-long course, because there's just so many assignments and stuff built up in the other one that it's easier to start fresh. But you'll see a new one, a new course pop in here, and they're saying that's how you'll know your new schedule. And hopefully your new instructor for 1A or whatever will be contacting you through that new Google Classroom. But until that happens, they've been giving us a lot of deadlines for things that haven't played out because of technology issues. I mean, it was apparently, I mean, the FBI is involved in this breach. Yeah, they figured out which computer it was though. Yeah, they told us on Monday. Huh?
Which one was it?
So yeah, so on Monday they told us that they narrowed down to a computer. It's an East computer, but it was loaned out to one of the elementaries last spring when we had to like scramble to get everybody devices and stuff. And they figured out which computer was used for the ransomware breach. It wasn't the person's fault who had the computer, because ransomware means that there's a hacker who's on purpose, you know, getting into your system, disabling it, and then making you pay money to re-enable it. So I think that I don't know if they paid the money or not, but my retirement plan is shifted over the break, and now my retirement plan is to become a ransomware hacker, because I read that they get like $250,000 per breach. So I'm going to start studying up on that. Not really. Don't tell anybody that. But it'd be more lucrative than some part-time job I would get, or teaching for STC on Saturdays. But yeah, so that's what I was told by the principal when I asked that question on Monday. You will know what classes you have when Google Classroom populates the new ones. And until that happens, there's nothing we can do. It's the same thing with the grade book. People were emailing me about their grades. What's my grade? What's my grade? I can't see anything on the portal. I'm like, dude, I can't see anything either. And if that grade book isn't working, I'm not working. So I can't control it. So I'm trying to roll with the punches and not get stressed about it, because it's not anything that I can control. I have all the grades all written down right here. They're all right here on my paper. Guess what? You can't hack a piece of paper. So yeah, so I have everything. As soon as the grade book, I check it all the time. As soon as the grade book's there, I'll start inputting, looking at the averages, submitting, and you'll start to see that populate. But like I said, they told us it was gonna be ready on Monday, and it's Wednesday. So I don't know, do we need grades? Do we really need grades? What if we could change our school culture where we weren't motivated by grades and we were motivated by our mental stimulation and our growth as people? I think we're going to have to clear out like a whole big generation before that can happen, because we've already brought up a bunch of people that are doing that. But all right, I said it was going to be a fast class meeting, and now I'm just babbling. So let me go through anything else on updates. Feel free to ask me in the chat. Oh, there's some chats. How are the colleges we applied for going to see our transcripts? Just pass this all. Yeah, right. Like, what if you could just pass the class when you have, at whatever point in the year you've shown your instructor that you've reached mastery for that course? And if that's in October, then that's in October. And if that's in July, then that's in July, you know? That's an interesting concept. Some countries do it that way. Yeah, okay, so how are colleges going to know? Yeah, I don't think that they can send your transcripts right now because they're not complete. So I do know that the state of Texas is aware that we had this breach, and so Yeah, they can't send transcripts because there aren't any final grades for the first semester. So they're just going to have to wait until the system comes back online. And all of the Oompa Loompas that are working on that right now are getting it done. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they did say that the grade book, I asked, has anything been erased? Like, was anything corrupted to the point where we're gonna have to go back and reconstruct our grades for the first semester? And Dr. Gamboa said, to his knowledge, everything's there. They just can't turn it on yet. So I guess the assumption is that once they can turn it on, we should be able to go in, everything that was there will be there, and we'll be able to put in our final last couple grades, the semester exam, average stuff out. Now, if we get in there and it's all crazy cuckoo, then maybe not. I don't know. I'm beginning to live my life in a perpetual state of I don't know. It's not too fun, but you know. Yeah, so I'm assuming that they'll still eventually at some point be able to get your college's transcripts. Anything else? Any other questions before I go into the stuff for this week and then cut you loose? No? Okay, notes on the semester exam essays. I've returned those to you. Make sure that once you open it right now, I did return them, right?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't return them until today because I was waiting to see what was going to happen with the grades and such, but I graded them. And if you open your document that has your final draft of your essay, there might be some comments in there where I put, you know, notes to the side for you, but also scroll to the bottom of your essay because you'll see a chart. I put a table in there where I went to the rubric and I'm telling you which parts of the rubric where you scored on the rubric with that essay. And I put some comments in there for you. So, you know, like whether you were in, you know, the exceptional category or the needs improvement category on each of the items. So that's how you can kind of see my commentary on your paper. We're going to keep working on analytical papers to spruce them up for when you take the AP exam in May. We're going to do some shorter things, we're going to do some longer things, and we'll just be writing analytically throughout. So I noticed that there are some people who are maybe not used to writing in an analytical way. And some people mentioned that to me when we were doing the conferences too. And that's okay. It's called school for a reason, and we're learning. So I'm here to help you through that process, but we're going to be shifting from maybe like expository essays or rhetorical analysis that you might have done last year in AP language, but into analysis essays. And so we're going to be focusing on that kind of writing. We'll do more frequent essays throughout this term, getting ready to take the AP exam. But I think what I saw, I mean, everybody was able to follow directions and most people were able to answer the topics. I think the average on the finals was, you know, in the high 80s. There was 100. There were several in the 90s. So yeah, I'm encouraged. I don't think we're in a bad place. I don't think that anybody's in a position where they don't know how to write appropriately for the class. Do we have some things to work on? Yeah, but that's the job of the next few months. So we're going to work on more literature and we'll be doing more analytical essays, longer essays, like the ones that we did for the semester. We might do some timed essays where, you know, you have 40 minutes, that kind of thing. So that you can get used to the timing. But overall, I was encouraged by them. I think that most people are moving into the analytical range. There are a couple people who don't really want to let go of their STAR test writing. And so it's my job to move everybody into, you know, more elevated type of writing. But that's okay. We're getting there, and I'm happy with our progress. The next unit that we're going to do this semester and this fourth 6 weeks is another poetry unit. The way that the course is set up is by going, like, cycling through short fiction, poetry, long work, short fiction, poetry, long work, like a couple times, as many times as we can. Things are different this year, so we're not cycling as frequently as we might if we were meeting every day, but I'm happy with our progress. I'd rather go into more depth on fewer pieces and really write about them and practice than rush through a bunch of literature and not be able to say anything about it. So this next few weeks, we're going to be working on poetry. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on sonnets, which is a particular type of poetry that's been around for hundreds of years. And we'll look at some older pieces and we'll look at some more modern pieces, because the AP exam will have, on the multiple choice, 3 poems probably, at least 2 and probably 3. So we're going to start practicing multiple choice a little bit too, and looking at how do you answer questions on a multiple choice about, interpreting poetry, and we're going to practice that. But the focus these next maybe 4 weeks or so is on sonnets. Now, I recognize that you may or may not have experience with sonnets, so I thought that we would start this week with a little bit of an introduction to sonnets and a few assignments that will help you really understand how sonnets are structured and some tools to analyze them. That we can build on the 1, 2, 3 into sonnets. So if you look down here at the assignments, there are 3 of them for this week. The first one is that I want you to go ahead and schedule your book talk. So I know that some of you turned in your discussion question on Google Classroom. I think you just did that because you weren't sure if you needed to do that. You don't need to do that, but it's fine if you did. What's going to happen is, at some point starting next Monday, I have 2 weeks set up for conferences, and you're going to sign up for a conference just like you did with your semester exam essay. And I set aside a half an hour for each conference, but they're usually about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And you and I will talk about your book. The starting point is your discussion question that you'll bring and present to me in our one-on-one. And I'll have a discussion question for you. I don't know what your question is. You don't know what my question is, but with a question from each of us, we should be able to sustain a conversation about what you read. Your job in that conference is to convince me that you read and understood the book and are working through the concepts that are presented. They're all complex works, so reading them was your main job, but hopefully while you were reading, you're also thinking about them. And so we will have a conference. If you scroll down to assignment number 1 right here, that's where you will find the link to sign up for, oh, some people already did, to sign up for whatever time period you want. There's a whole nother week if you hit the arrow over here. There's also next week. So if you're not quite done, if you read Jane Eyre and you've got, another 100 pages to go and you'd rather do it, 2 weeks from now, then that's fine. But whatever time you choose, then when you come to the conference, you'll have your question then. So it should be discussion oriented, right? Not like a yes or no, unless it's an opinion-based question. You can ask a yes or no opinion-based question, but follow up. But I mean, I'm gonna help with the discussion, but the main thing, I've read them all. The main thing is there is a grade for the conference. So the main thing is to be able to converse about the book on a level that makes it so that I'm convinced that you did what you're supposed to do and read it. If I mention a character and you don't know who that is, and it's obvious, it's gonna be obvious because it's a one-on-one conversation, that's not gonna be too great. So assignment number 1 for this week is to go ahead and schedule your book talk, get your question ready for when we meet up. I really enjoy those conferences because it's kind of fun to talk about literature, with somebody, and you guys have been reading them. Maybe you teamed up with other people in class to read them, but maybe in isolation. And so it's kind of good for you also to talk to somebody about what you were reading, and that's always, enjoyable. The other 2 assignments are about getting ourselves oriented to sonnets. So assignment number 2 is a little bit of a research assignment. If you want to click on that one, there's a chart that I want you to fill in. There are, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 or 10 types of sonnets that exist, but we're going to focus on 3 types for these next few weeks. And you're going to need to be able to identify them. So a sonnet is a type of poetry, but there are variations on that type. So this is kind of a research chart where you are going to turn it in for a grade. But I want you to be able to determine for each one of these 3 types, the English sonnet, the Italian sonnet, and the Spenserian sonnet, I want you to go and figure out, use reliable websites and figure out what are the qualities of each one, because obviously they must differ if they have different names. So there must be something that's different about an Italian sonnet from an English sonnet, and then the Spenserian sonnet must differ from that. So I want you to go, and this is just a chart where you can enter in what you find out as you research, so that you can, if I give you a sonnet, you should be able to tell me, is it English, is it Italian, or is it Spenserian based on this chart. So this is like the first part of the sonnet assignment. Was somebody going to ask something? Somebody unmuted. You can unmute, it's fine. I did find a video. It's kind of, how do I describe it? There is a video that will give you a lot of this information, like maybe 90% of it. And the video is here. I linked it here. I think that it's good information. I watched the whole video. I don't think there's anything wrong with what the person said, but it's kind of like, it's got like the superhero character. And I don't want you to think that I'm like dumbing down the course or making it juvenile, but it did have a lot of correct information. So there's this like little ninja guy, and he's the one who's doing the presentation of the poems. But if you want to get almost everything in one drop, then you might watch that video just to get your information, then fill in whatever you don't get. I think videos are good for that because you can always stop them, put your information in and go back or rewind or whatever. So there is that, and that can help you. But you're going to have to do this assignment number 2, this chart, before you do assignment number 3. So once you've got this worked out, then you'll see that I have assignment number 3. Wow, that rhymed. It's my mad flow. All right, so then I have a series of 5 sonnets that I have not identified with the author or the title, and you can use your chart and identify those 5 as English, Italian, or Spenserian. So you're going to use your information that you researched and apply it directly to this document. So this is going to open a Jamboard. Have you worked with Jamboard before? It's a Google thing. Anybody work with Jamboard? New Jamboard users? Oh, somebody put something in the chat. Maybe they're going to say yes. Yes, okay, so some people have. So Jamboard is just like a workspace. And what I did was I already imported the 5 poems, and you can navigate them here. I also numbered them because, I'm thorough. And so there are 5 sonnets here. And once you know the difference between them, or you have it on your chart, then I want you to go through and look at the poem, obviously read it, and figure out if it is Italian, English, or Spenserian, and label it, and then sort of annotate it for how you know that. So say, for example, there's a certain rhyme scheme that a Shakespearean sonnet or English sonnet has, and you can identify this as that type of sonnet, then you can come over here and use these tools. Here's a pen, so you can just, like literally write right on here, right? Or there's also, if that's too messy for you, then there's text boxes that you can create and you can type in there. But I want you to annotate this in a way, there's circles in case you're getting, feeling like, oh, I can just circle it. Oh, that's not good. Oh, maybe it will make it transparent here. No, order, yeah, okay. I don't think it's gonna do it though, because, yeah, it won't do it because I set this as the background. Anyway, you can use the tools to say, what are the qualities of this poem that made you determine that that's the type that it is? So you're sort of justifying your answer, if that makes sense. And there are 5 of them. So you're going to go through and, using your chart, determine the type of sonnet for each one. And you don't have to analyze the poem's meaning. We're going to do that next week. We're going to go into and look at these poems. Right now, I just want to know that you know an Italian sonnet when you see one. You know a Spenserian sonnet when you see one. Because the way that they're structured helps us analyze them. And I'm going to teach that to you next week. So that's it. Sign up for the book conference. Complete the chart so that you're familiar with the 3 types of sonnets. And then annotate these and identify which types they are. Due dates. So I want you to do the chart by Saturday or sooner. Do submit it. I want to see that you have notes. If you submit it, you can still look at it, right? You just can't type on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so submit it Saturday, and then you can use the chart before class on Monday. I want you to know what types of sonnets we're dealing with in that Jamboard file. And then we're going to start working with those sonnets together next week. Okay? I don't think that's a lot. Oh, formatives. You do need to do formatives because we need to continue those for attendance. So I want to ask you something before we go. Do you think it would be beneficial for us to have class on Wednesdays or on the alternate Fridays when it's an A week? Because I know that most of the teachers do that. And maybe you can send me a direct message in the chat if you don't want to just put it for everybody. I'm wondering if you think we should stay the same, or whether, like, if that's working, or whether you think that it would be good to have class on Wednesdays. I wouldn't be adding assignments. I think it would just be, like, to help you with your work. Yeah, make it optional. That's a possibility too. Yeah, I know you can't speak for everyone, but just for you, I mean, we're only 16 people in this class, and so I have the opportunity to kind of like customize it just for us. When it's a big class like 30, you kind of have to all do stuff the same. But when there's only 16 or 17 of us, then we can, adjust more easily. I'm seeing optional. Okay, so starting next week, I'll talk to you about it on Monday, but starting next week, I think that you can expect that I'll have some optional time during this class period on Wednesdays. Maybe you start on the assignment, you're confused, you can come to the Wednesday and I'll go over, and help people with whatever they're working on. Less formal, yeah. But I mean, continue to put notes in there for me so I know from everybody. You can just send it to me if you want. I want to see what everybody thinks. I mean, if it's optional, it doesn't really directly affect you. All right. I think that's it. Is there anything that you guys are wondering about, or is there anything else that I can talk about for this week's assignments? No? All right, I'm going to conclude class for today then, and I'll give some thought to that optional thing. If you have any additional thoughts, you can just, email them to me or something, send them to me on the Google Voice if you have an opinion that you'd like for me to consider. And then on Monday, I'll talk to you about how that's going to work. All right. All right, if there aren't any other questions, then I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting for today. It was good to have you all back in class for the new year. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited that we're going to be able to finish the year strong. So, all right, I'll see you all on Monday.
All right. Bye, miss. Have a good evening.
Bye. Have a good day.
Miss, have a good week.
Bye.